All right, for today's lesson, we're going to talk about something called normal distribution. What you need today, I'm going to post these on the video or in the video category. You can print these out so you don't have to draw these or write all these problems down. You need this paper and a calculator would help. All right, normal distribution is used when you have a large set of values or a large set of numbers or scores, like an SAT score or an IQ score, things like that. If they're normally distributed, they'll fit in this curve here. Some very, very, very important numbers. Between these two lines, right in the middle, is your average or your mean. And between these two lines, and I'll get into what these numbers are, what they're called in a minute on the second picture, but between these two represents 68% of all the scores if it's normally distributed. Well, if you split that in half, because this is symmetric, this would be 34%, and this would also be 34%. Two lines to the right, two lines to the left will represent 95% of all the numbers or scores. And then three lines, almost 100% will fit in here. That is 99.7%. All right, all the way over. All right, so if this is true, two lines represent 95. If you do the math, 95 minus 34 or 68. So these two right here, if you split that in half, these would represent 13.5%, each of these little sections. Again, this is symmetric. So I only have 4.7 between these two. You split that in half, you get 2.35% in each of these. These numbers are very important. If it's normally distributed, these are the numbers always, every single time. And then 100% is the entire picture, so these little regions right here will be 0.15%, both of them. And all of those add up to 100%. All right, so you need to practice doing these numbers. So on the second one, I want you, if you can, don't look at the first one. Fill these out with percent. You can put it on pause and then do this. All right, now that you're back, check to see if these are right. You got to learn how to do this on your own. This is very, very important, because this I'm going to use to answer a lot of my questions. Now, in normal distribution, these numbers will always be the same. Always. Okay? So, let me give you some symbols that we use in some terms. This is the symbol we use for mean or average. And one line to the right we say is one standard deviation. That's the lowercase sigma we use. One standard deviation, one positive standard deviation. This would be two positive standard deviations, and this would be three. On the other side, one negative standard deviation, negative two standard deviations, and so on. So when I say the scores one standard deviation from the mean, that's the right side and the left side, so one standard deviation represents 68%. Two standard deviations is 95. Three standard deviations is 99.7, and it's always the same. But what does change are the numbers on the bottom. So I'm going to fill this out because I'm going to need this as well to help me answer these questions. And it's good to know how to fill this out without looking. So fill yours out, see if you can do it without looking. It'll make your quiz easier on Friday. All right, so now I'm going to take these numbers down here and fill out the rest of it. These will always be the same, but the numbers on the bottom won't. The mean is 120. That's the one right in the middle. All right, now when it says there's a standard deviation of 10, that means each mark to the right, you just add 10, and each mark to the left, you subtract 10. So now this is all filled out. All right, so I can answer these questions. Notice there's different questions here. What percent and how many? So what percent of the data is in the range between 110 and 130. We say that's one standard deviation to the right and to the left, so one standard deviation, and that represents 68% of all the numbers. What percent of the data is in the range 90 to 110? Well, it's just those two numbers added together. 2.35 plus 13.5, and then I just add those up using my calculator. And that's 15.85%. So 15.85% of the scores are between 90 and 110. How many, now notice this one says how many, not what percent, but I need the percent first. So I'm going to find the percent first between 100 and 150. Well, I already know that's 68. I already know that's 95. So I'm just adding 95 and 2.35. Which would be 97.35. Now, if this said what percent, I'm done, but it says how many. So now I take that number and multiply by 1,000. But now remember, the percent, I need to change it to a decimal. 0.9735 times 1,000 would be 973.5. Now, if this was people and their test scores, I would round that to, because it'll probably say approximately anyway, 974. It didn't say that, so I'm just going to leave it as 973.5. How many again? Greater than 140. Well, those are the ones greater than 140, so 2.35 plus 0.15. Now, this isn't a percent problem. I need the percent to answer this question, but it's 2.5%. Okay, but this one says how many, so I really should put the percent symbol there, because I'm not multiplying by 2.5, I'm multiplying by 0.025 times 1,000 equals 25. So that's not a very large amount there. Well, it shouldn't be. It's a long way from the average. How many values are within one standard deviation of the mean? One standard deviation is not just to the right. One standard deviation to the right, one to the left, that's 68%. But this says how many, so I'm going to multiply that by 1,000. And remember, change your your percent to a decimal. 0.68 times 1,000 equals 680. That's the answer to this problem, not the percent. 680. All right, the next one, if you want to try this on your own, push pause and fill this out. All right, glad you're back. The average is 63. Standard deviation is 8, so I just add 8 on the right, subtract 8 on the left. So this would be 71, this would be 79, this would be, put one more. This would be 87. And then subtract 8 would be 55. Subtract 8 would be 47. Subtract 8 it would be 39. And I'm going to put the percents in here. It'll help me answer these questions. Much easier answer these questions if I have this filled out every time. And if you're exhausted after doing that, take a short nap and then come back and finish the rest of it. What percent? These are all percents. Well, I don't have to multiply them. Good, because they didn't give me any total number of people. What percent of students score greater than 55? Well, I know this half is 50, right? Half of it is 50, plus the 34 would be 84%. Use your brain when you're doing these. What percent score less than 79? Again, I know this is 50. This half is 50 plus 34 plus 13.5. And if I was smart, I would have just used the 84 from the problem before. I know that's 84. 84 plus 13.5, 97.5. Okay, again, these are percents. What percents of the scores fall between 47 and 71? Well, I know that's 68, so this would just be 68 plus 13.5, calculator, 68 plus 13.5, 81.5%. And then the last one, what percent of the scores fall between 39 and 63? Well, isn't that just half of it minus that? Because I don't want those other ones, so it'd be 50 minus 0.15. I could have just added all those up if I wanted. It just seems easier to do this. And that would be 49.85%. Okay, now, again, if it says percent, I'm done. If it says how many, I need to multiply that percent times how many were in the, oh, it told me 600. Okay, but it didn't ask me how many, so I'm done. I'm not doing any more. All right, good luck on your homework. This will also be on your quiz on Friday. If you need any help, why not come to the live class and ask some questions? What a brilliant idea.